Hi guys, welcome back to Lost in My Library. My name is Kate. Today I am doing a ARC review of Dead End Drive by Ian Kirkpatrick. I listened to the audiobook, and the audiobook is done by Kieran Reagan. So I received this on Netgalley as an audiobook, as I said. Thanks to Steakhouse Books. I'm just looking up the information. I want to get it correct, for allowing me to be able to read this book. And if you want to read this book, I believe the audiobook is still available on Netgalley as a read now or listen now title. If you would like to also listen to it, obviously this is also an indie publisher, so if you would like to receive an actual copy, physical copy of this book, I will leave links in the description after that you can go look at. If you would like to give some money to an indie author, an indie publisher. Obviously, we need to support our indie friends, people who don't get as much publicity as the big five publishing houses. Right. So, Dead End Drive, I will just read the description. Here it says, after his mother passes away, 14-year-old Kelly Benedict has no choice but to escape his home or perish at the hands of his remaining family. When Agatha Benedict plucked Kelly off the city streets to replace her dead cat Poopsie, she neglected to inform him of some very important house traditions. The history of the Benedict estate prescribes that once the estate owner passes on, a will reading is to take place. However, the reading is more than passing on a loved one's final wishes. It's a figurative gunshot in the air, an alert to all in attendance that a playful game of anything goes murder has begun. The prize? The inheritance, of course. As if visiting, a storm comes in with the guests, trapping everyone on the property for the night. While Kelly plays catch-up on with house roles, once friendly family members have already sharpened their knives. Try as he might, there is no survival. He won't play by the same rules as everyone else. A uniquely funny and dark murders party, satire with big personalities, a coming-of-age story if growing up felt like being stabbed in the back by everyone you hold dear. As suspenseful as Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, and as slapstick as Clue, Dead End Drive is a wild night of nihilism for the sake of personal advance at any cost. Let's be honest, is there anything more valuable than having every last need met for life? That description instantly drew me in. When you mentioned And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, that always catches my eye, just because And Then There Were None is one of my all-time favorite books, and it's a buzzword for me. So this book instantly caught my eye, and also the concept is very interesting. I don't think in execution this book did the concept justice. I sat on this for a while of how I would describe this book, and I think the best way to describe this book, one, it's very similar, if you watch the movie Ready or Not, it's very similar to that, I feel like, and it gave me the same kind of feel as Ready or Not, but also, it's a book, you know those slasher movies that you watch, and the characters aren't interesting, you hate everyone, and you're pretty much only watching the movie because you want to see some cool kills? That's this book. It's one of those B movie. I hate saying this. It's one of those B B movie horror movies that just isn't great, but like it has some cool things going for it. And yes, this book has some good things going for it, but something's just not hitting. I will go over the pros and cons I came across. I have listed my review for the book. We'll start with the good things, because there are good things about this book. And as I said, wasn't the biggest fan. Also, the problem that comes with this feeling like one of those slasher movies is that those slasher movies are around an hour and a half-ish. People have time to sit down and watch an hour and a half long slasher movie that they're not going to love. But they're fun to watch because they have some cool kills, there's some cool things about it. The thing is, this is a 6-hour audiobook. On top of, if you're actually physically reading it, is a lot longer than, listening to the audiobook. Obviously, you can speed it up and cut the time down a little bit more, but a lot of people don't have that time to give this kind of book that feels like a slasher movie that isn't all that great. So, moving on to the good things, I like the concept, found it intriguing, it's attention grabbing. I think this book has a great description for it, and yes, more or less that is what the book's about, but the execution isn't all that great. The diversity of the characters was very nice. Every single character is very, very different from each other. We have Kelly, who was an orphan who was brought in by Agatha. We have Clint, who is the lover of Agatha, kind of. They loved each other, but they weren't allowed to be with each other. He's of Asian descent. I don't remember what race he was, but he was of Asian descent, and they met in the 40s, so right around when World War II was ending was when they met. Who has been killing off her boyfriends. Then we have her chauffeur, who has major anger issues and hit a guy once. We have a tennis player that comes and plays on the grounds. He has everybody has major anger issues. No, that's one thing across the board. Everybody has anger issues, for the most part. He attacks referees for bad calls. We have Ellie, who is Agatha's daughter, and she's just a spoiled brat. We have Alex, who's the stylist. He's gay, and that's pretty much his one defining trait, is that he is gay. Ellie, basically, going back to Ellie, Ellie is not pretty, and she is all about getting, plastic surgery. That's her main thing. We have Matthias, who's a little bit more to him. I will give him that. Matthias was Agatha's last boyfriend before Agatha passed away. He has a little bit more substance, and he becomes more of a wild card towards the end of the book. And I appreciated the, wild cardness of him. We have Gavin, who's the butler. He is Scottish. He is stoic. Then we have Anna, who is the maid, who is with Gavin for the most part. She's also stoic. We have, what's his name? Angus. We have Angus, who's the cook. He is basically a bull in a china shop and very naive. We have the doctor, who doesn't care about people. She just basically cares about the money. So, we have a diverse, the Doctor's Black. So we have POC characters, we have LGBT characters, but they're all one-dimensional is the problem. But we're going over the pros that I found in the book. The deaths in the book were creative and different, I found. They weren't all just like poison or a knife stab. Oh, I forgot a character. Astra, she's in the very beginning. Madame Astra, who is a medium, and is there because her roommate's awful. Like, another just random character out of the blue. Awful person. Why did we need that chapter? I don't know. There's a lot of chapters I'm like, why did we need this? We did it, is the answer. We don't need this chapter. And the problem, as I said, with like the deaths are creative and not all. There's a lot of cool ones. The Doctor's death is pretty cool. Yeah, it's just that's the only death I'll give you is the Doctor dies. The hair washing scene is just I forgot about it for a while, and then I was reminded of it while reading other people's reviews, and I was just like, how did I forget the hair washing scene? If you want to know, you can read it for yourself. The hair washing scene. It's just a little yeesh. So moving on to the cons. The characters were one-dimensional. They are stuck in their stereotypes. And that's pretty much it. Any character that seemed like they might have had a little bit more substance to them either died very early, or we didn't see, or was just not expanded upon. Like with Kelly, who we got hints of like his backstory before he came to Agatha, and I was just wanting something more from that, and just sharing some of that backstory so he doesn't feel so much of this terrible, awful, spoiled brat that he's come across as, like, for the majority of the book. I just wanted more from that. Matthias also offered some more substance, but towards the end of the book, and not very much. I just need more substance to these characters, that they're not just stereotypes. Like Matthias and Kelly had some interesting conversations. I wish there was more of that, but that was towards the end of the book, as I said. The story being focused on multiple characters, I think if it focused on Kelly or even Gavin through the whole entire book, it would have felt cohesive, but everything felt just disjointed within this sphere of everyone's trying to fight for this inheritance. Everything felt disjointed, but if we focused on one character through the whole entire book and slowly learn some of these backstories of these characters, I think that would have helped the story a lot more. Because there's not one character I'm like wanting to root for, or not just one character that we're following a whole lot that I like. Kelly was not all that likable character. If Kelly was the person I was really supposed to be following and liking, you didn't do a great job of portraying Kelly as a character that we really like. Towards the end, he gets better towards the end, but in the beginning, and also the voice that Kieran Regan does for Kelly is awful. It's terrible. Like, she gives every character a very distinct voice, and I appreciate the distinct voices. So you definitely know which character is speaking and what's happening in every scene. But Kelly's voice is very high-pitched, and it sounds like a 10-year-old. He's 14. The latter end of I looked this up. The latter end, like towards the end, that a guy reaches puberty. So theoretically, he should not be having this high-pitched, annoying, grating voice that Kieran Regan gives him. And it's not the author's fault. It's 100% the narrator, Kieran Regan's fault. Unless they were told, I don't know what the identity of Kieran Regan is. If they were told to do this, yes, but it's grating and it's just annoying, and it makes Kelly he sounds so whiny. Like, in the beginning, it's already pretty bad, but her narration just makes it worse. The narration did not help make Kelly a more likable person, and if I read that, I feel like it wouldn't have been so bad, but I'm also reviewing the audiobook, so I feel like I have to talk about the narration and how the person narrating the book also spoke with telling this story. It did not help one bit to make me like Kelly, because I'm just like, he's just an annoying kid. And then you're like, oh wait, this kid is 14 years old. And speaking about Kelly being 14, there were some awful things said to Kelly. Like, he's 14. He is a minor. And you're saying this stuff? Like, just so horrific ways. They're like, we're going to kill him? Like, yes, he's just inherited a lot of money. But, like, he's 14. And you're just... Some of the things they've said, like... They're not okay. It's not okay. And... Nobody said, like, this kid, it's a kid. Nobody was like, hold on. This is a kid we're talking about. He's 14. He's just 14. So those were the main problems, basically, for the book for me. And I hate to bash this book because it's an indie book, but there's some serious problems with this book. I ended up giving this book 2.5 stars, and on Goodreads I have it as a 2-star read. And I know a lot of people round that up to 3 stars, and I probably would have rounded up to 3 stars if it wasn't the audiobook. I'm reviewing the audiobook, and it's just... the narration isn't that good. So this is a 2.5 stars for me. I am so sorry that this is actually the first Netgalley arc I've received, and I feel terrible that the first Netgalley arc I've read and given feedback for is the 2.5 stars. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. So, thank you guys for watching. Again, I'll leave the links in the description to where you can buy this book if you would like to receive a copy of this book yourselves. I won't leave the Netgalley link. You can find it easily if you have Netgalley. Obviously, we want to support people, and if, for whatever reason, even though I didn't like this book, maybe somebody else will like it. There are people that have liked this book, have rated it 5 stars, so maybe for you would love it. So, just because this is an indie publisher, I won't do this for all of my arcs and everything, but because, especially that this is an indie publisher, I will leave links to where you can purchase this book yourself. Because we should support our indie publishers, especially during this time. So thank you guys for watching.